Hindu philosophy refers to a group of darsanas that emerged in ancient India. The mainstream Hindu philosophy includes 6 systems: Samkhya, Yoga, Nyaya, Vaisheshika, Mimamsa and Vedanta. These are also called the Astika philosophical traditions and are those that accept the Vedas as authoritative, important source of knowledge. Ancient and medieval India was also the source of philosophies that share philosophical concepts but rejected the Vedas, and these have been called Nastika Indian philosophies. Nastika Indian philosophies include Buddhism, Jainism, Attribution, and others. Scholars have debated the relationship and differences within Astika philosophies and with Nastika philosophies, starting with the writings of Indologists and Orientalists of the 18th and 19th centuries, which were themselves derived from limited availability of Indian literature and medieval doxographies. The various sibling traditions included in Hindu philosophies are diverse, and they are united by shared history and concepts, same textual resources, similar ontological and soteriological focus, and cosmology. While Buddhism and Jainism are considered distinct philosophies and religions, some heterodox traditions such as Karvaka are often considered as distinct schools within Hindu philosophy. Hindu philosophy also includes several sub-schools of theistic philosophies that integrate ideas from 2 or more of the 6 orthodox philosophies, such as the realism of the Nyaya, the naturalism of the Vaisheshika, the dualism of the Samkhya. Examples of such schools include Pasupata Aiva, Siddhanta, Pratyabhijna, Rasasvara and Vaishnava. Some subschools share tantric ideas with those found in some Buddhist traditions. The ideas of these subschools are found in the Puranas and Agamas. Each school of Hindu philosophy has extensive epistemological literature called Pramanasastras, as well as theories on metaphysics, axiology and other topics. Classifications. Since medieval times, Indian philosophy is divided by Brahmins into Astika and Nastika schools of thought. In the history of Hinduism, the 6 orthodox schools were in existence by sometime between the start of the Common Era and the Gupta Empire, or about the 4th century. Some scholars have questioned whether the orthodox and heterodox schools classification is sufficient or accurate. Astika. There are 6 Astika schools of thought. Each is called the darśana, and each darśana accepts the Vedas as authoritative and the premise that Atman exists. The Astika schools are Samkhya, an atheistic and strongly dualist theoretical exposition of consciousness and matter; Yoga, a school emphasizing meditation, contemplation and liberation; Nyaya, or logic, explores sources of knowledge; Nyaya Sutras; Vaisheshika, an empiricist school of atomism; Mimamsa, an anti-ascetic and anti-mysticist school of orthopraxy; Vedanta, the last segment of knowledge in the Vedas, or Jnanakanda. Vedanta came to be the dominant current of Hinduism in the post-medieval period. Nastika schools that do not accept the authority of the Vedas are Nastika philosophies, of which 4 Nastika schools are prominent. Karvaka, a materialism school that accepted free will exists; Ajivika, a materialism school that denied free will exists; Buddhism, a philosophy that denies existence of Atman and is based on the teachings and enlightenment of Gautama Buddha; Jainism, a philosophy that accepts the existence of the Atman, and is based on the teachings and enlightenment of 24 teachers known as Tirthankaras, with Rishabha as the first and Mahavira as the 24th. Other schools, besides the major orthodox and non-orthodox schools, there have existed syncretic sub-schools that have combined ideas and introduced new ones of their own. The medieval scholar Madhvacharya includes the following, along with Buddhism and Jainism, as sub-schools of Hindu philosophy: Pashupata Shaivism, developed by Nakliso; Shaiva Siddhanta, the theistic Samkhya school; Pratyabhijna, the recognitive school of Kashmir Shaivism; Rasasvara, a Shaiva school that advocated the use of mercury to reach immortality; the Ramanuja school; the Purniprajna school; the Pananiya. The above sub-schools introduced their own ideas while adopting concepts from orthodox schools of Hindu philosophy such as realism of the Nyaya, naturalism of Vaisheshika, monism and knowledge of self as essential to liberation of Advaita, self-discipline of yoga, asceticism and elements of theistic ideas. Some sub-schools share tantric ideas with those found in some Buddhist traditions. Characteristics. Advaita, Vaisheshika and Advaita have evolved from an older Vedanta school, and all of them except Upanishads and Brahma Sutras as standard texts. Vyasa wrote her commentary on the Yoga Sutras called Samkhya Pravekhanabhasya. Overview. Epistemology. Epistemology is called pramana. It is a key, much debated field of study in Hinduism since ancient times. Pramana is a Hindu theory of knowledge and discusses means by which human beings gain accurate knowledge. The focus of pramana is how correct knowledge can be acquired, how one knows, how one doesn't, and to what extent knowledge pertinent about someone or something can be acquired. Ancient and medieval Hindu texts identify 6 pramanas as correct means of accurate knowledge and truths. Pratyaksa, Anumana, Upamana, Arthapati, and Upalabdha and Sabda. Each of these are further categorized in terms of conditionality, completeness, confidence and possibility of error, by each school. The various schools vary on how many of these 6 are valid paths of knowledge. For example, the Karvakarnastika philosophy holds that only one is an epistemically reliable means of knowledge. The Samkhya school holds 3 are, while the Mimamsa and Vedanta schools hold all 6 are epistemically useful and reliable means to knowledge. Samkhya. Samkhya is the oldest of the orthodox philosophical systems in Hinduism, with origins in the 1st millennium BCE. It is a rationalist school of Indian philosophy, and had a strong influence on other schools of Indian philosophies. Samkhya is an enumerationist philosophy whose epistemology accepted 3 of 6 pramanas as the only reliable means of gaining knowledge. These included pratyaksa, anumana and sabda. Samkhya school espouses dualism between consciousness and matter. It regards the universe as consisting of 2 realities, Purusa and Prakriti. Jiva is that state in which Purusa is bonded to Prakriti in some form. This fusion state, the Samkhya scholars, led to the emergence of Buddha and Ahankara. The universe is described by this school as one created by Purusa Prakriti entities infused with various permutations and combinations of variously enumerated elements, senses, feelings, activity and mind. Samkhya philosophy includes a theory of gunas. Guna, its states, are of 3 types. Sattva being good, compassionate, illuminating, positive, and constructive. Rajas guna is one of activity, chaotic, passion, impulsive, potentially good or bad, and tamas being the quality of darkness, ignorance, destructive, lethargic, negative. Everything, all life forms and human beings, state Samkhya scholars, have these 3 gunas, but in different proportions. The interplay of these gunas defines the character of someone or something, of nature, and determines the progress of life. Samkhya theorizes a pluralism of souls who possess consciousness, but denies the existence of Ishvara. Classical Samkhya is considered an atheist, non-theistic Hindu philosophy. Samkhya Karika, one of the key texts of this school of Hindu philosophy, opens by stating its goal to be 3 kinds of human suffering, and means to prevent it. The text then presents a distillation of its theories on epistemology, metaphysics, axiology and soteriology. For example, it states, from the triad of suffering, arises this inquiry into the means of preventing it. That is useless. If you say so, I say no, because suffering is not absolute and final. Verse 1. The gunas respectively consist in pleasure, pain and dullness, are adapted to manifestation, activity and restraint, mutually domineer, rest on each other, produce each other, consort together, and are reciprocally present. Verse 12. Goodness is considered to be alleviating and enlightening, foulness, urgent and persisting, darkness, heavy and enveloping. Like a lamp, they cooperate for a purpose by union of contraries. Verse 13. There is a general cause, which is diffuse. It operates by means of the three qualities, by mixture, by modification, for different objects are diversified by influence of the several qualities respectively. Verse 16. Since the assemblage of perceivable objects is for use, since the converse of that which has the three qualities with other properties must exist, since there must be superintendence, since there must be some entity that enjoys, since there is a tendency to abstraction, therefore soul is. Verse 17. Samkhya Karika. The soteriology in Samkhya aims at the realization of Purusa as distinct from Prakriti. This knowledge of the self is held to end transmigration and lead to absolute freedom. Yoga. In Indian philosophy, yoga is, among other things, the name of one of the 6 Astika philosophical schools. The yoga philosophical system is closely allied with the dualism premises of Samkhya school. The yoga school accepts the Samkhya psychology and metaphysics, but is considered theistic because it accepts the concept of personal God. Unlike Samkhya, the epistemology of the yoga school, like the Samkhya school, relies on 3 of 6 pramanas as the means of gaining reliable knowledge: pratyaksa, a new manner, and ṣaḍda. The universe is conceptualized as a duality in yoga school, Purusa and Prakra. However, the yoga school discusses this concept more generically as seer, experiencer, and seen, experienced, than the Samkhya school. A key text of the yoga school is the Yoga Sutras of Patanjali. Patanjali may have been, as Max Muller explains, the author or representative of the yoga philosophy without being necessarily the author of the sutras. Hindu philosophy recognizes many types of yoga, such as Raja Yoga, Jnana Yoga, Karma Yoga, Bhakti Yoga, Tantra Yoga, Mantra Yoga, Laya Yoga, and Hatha Yoga. The yoga school builds on the Samkhya school theory that jnana is a sufficient means to moksha. It suggests that systematic techniques, practice combined with Samkhya's approach to knowledge is the path to moksha. Yoga shares several central ideas with Advaita Vedanta, with the difference that yoga is a form of experimental mysticism while Advaita Vedanta is a form of monistic personalism. Like Advaita Vedanta, the yoga school of Hindu philosophy states that liberation, freedom in this life is achievable, and this occurs when an individual fully understands and realizes the equivalence of Atman and Brahman. Vaisheshika. The Vaisheshika philosophy is a naturalist school. It is a form of atomism in natural philosophy. It postulated that all objects in the physical universe are reducible to paramanu, and one's experiences are derived from the interplay of substance, quality, activity, commonness, particularity, and inherence. Knowledge and liberation was achievable by complete understanding of the world of experience. According to Vaisheshika school, the Vaisheshika darśana is credited to Kanada Kasyapa from the second half of the first millennium BCE. The foundational text, the Vaisheshika Sutra, opens as follows. Dharma is that from which results the accomplishment of exaltation and of the supreme good. The authoritativeness of the Veda arises from its being an exposition of Dharma. The supreme good results from knowledge, produced from a particular Dharma, of the essence of the predicables, substance, attribute, action, genus, species and combination, by means of their resemblances and differences. Vaisheshika Sutra 1.1.1-1.1.4. The Vaisheshika school is related to the Nyaya school but features differences in its epistemology, metaphysics and ontology. The epistemology of the Vaisheshika school, like Buddhism, accepted only two reliable means to knowledge: perception and inference. The Vaisheshika school and Buddhism both consider their respective scriptures as indisputable and valid means to knowledge. The difference being that the scriptures held to be a valid and reliable source by Vaishikas were the Vedas. Vaisheshika metaphysical premises are founded on a form of atomism, that the reality is composed of four substances. Each of these four are of two types: atomic and composite. An atom is, according to Vaisheshika scholars, that which is indestructible, indivisible, and has a special kind of dimension, called small. A composite, in this philosophy, is defined to be anything which is divisible into atoms. Whatever human beings perceive is composite, while atoms are invisible. The Vaishikas stated that size, form, truths and everything that human beings experience as a whole is a function of atoms. Their number and their spatial arrangements, their guna, karma, samanya, vishesha and amavaya. Nyaya. The Nyaya school is a realist astika philosophy. This school's most significant contributions to Indian philosophy was systematic development of the theory of logic, methodology, and its treatises on epistemology. The foundational text of Nyaya school is the Nyaya Sutras of the first millennium BCE. It is credited to Aksapada Gautama and variously dated to have been composed somewhere from the 6th century to the 2nd century BCE. Nyaya epistemology accepts 4 out of 6 pramanas as reliable means of gaining knowledge: pratyaksa, anumana, upamana and ṣaḍda. In its metaphysics, Nyaya school is closer to the Vaisheshika school than others. It holds that human suffering results from mistakes, defects produced by activity under wrong knowledge. Moksha, it states, is gained through right knowledge. This premise led Nyaya to concern itself with epistemology, that is the reliable means to gain correct knowledge and to remove wrong notions. False knowledge is not merely ignorance to Nyayikas, it includes delusion. Correct knowledge is discovering and overcoming one's delusions, and understanding true nature of soul, self and reality. The Nyaya Sutras begin: perception, inference, comparison and word, these are the means of right knowledge. Perception is that knowledge which arises from the contact of a sense with its object and which is determinate, unnameable and non-erratic. Inference is knowledge which is preceded by perception, and is of 3 kinds: a priori, a posteriori, and commonly seen. Comparison is the knowledge of a thing through its similarity to another thing previously well known. Word is the instructive assertion of a reliable person. Knowledge is of 2 kinds: that which is seen, and that which is not seen. Soul, body, senses, objects of senses, intellect, mind, activity, fault, transmigration, fruit, suffering and release, and the objects of right knowledge. Nyaya Sutras 1.1.3-1.1.9, Mimamsa. The Mimamsa school emphasized hermeneutics and exegesis. It is a form of philosophical realism. Key texts of the Mimamsa school are the Purva Mimamsa Sutra Sajamini. The classical Mimamsa school is sometimes referred to as Purva Mimamsa or Karma Mimamsa in reference to the first part of the Vedas. The Mimamsa school has several subschools defined by epistemology. The Prabhakara subschool of Mimamsa considered 5 epistemically reliable means to gaining knowledge: pratyaksa, anumana, upamana, arthapati, and ṣaḍda. The Kumarila Bhatta sub-school of Mimamsa added 6th to its canon of reliable epistemology, anupalabdha. The metaphysics in Mimamsa school consists of both atheistic and theistic doctrines, and the school showed little interest in systematic examination of the existence of God. Rather, it held that the soul is eternal, omnipresent, inherently active spiritual essence, then focused on the epistemology and metaphysics of Dharma. To them, Dharma meant rituals and duties, not devas, because devas existed only in name. The Mimamsakas held that the Vedas are eternal, authorless, infallible, that Vedic Vidya and mantras in rituals are prescriptive kaya, and the rituals are of primary importance and merit. They considered the Upanishads and other self-knowledge, spirituality-related texts to be of secondary importance. A philosophical view that the Vedanta school disagreed with. Mimamsa gave rise to the study of philology and the philosophy of language. While their deep analysis of language and linguistics influenced other schools, their views were not shared by others. Mimamsakas considered the purpose and power of language was to clearly prescribe the proper, correct and right. In contrast, Vedantins extended the scope and value of language as a tool to also describe, develop and derive. Mimamsakas considered orderly, law-driven, procedural life a central purpose and noblest necessity of Dharma and society. In divine sustenance means to that end. The Mimamsa school was influential and foundational to the Vedanta school, with the difference that Mimamsa school developed and emphasized Karmakanda, while the Vedanta school developed and emphasized Jnanakanda.